Good evening. I would like to call the City of Mount Vernon City Council meeting for Wednesday, August 13th, 2025 to order. The time is now 7 o'clock. Would you please stand with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to ask our city clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Beaton? I am here, but I will need to excuse myself by 8 p.m. Councilmember Brocksmith?
Here.
Councilmember Currius?
Here.
Councilmember Hudson?
Here.
Councilmember Molinar?
Is excused tonight.
Councilmember Tesoro?
Here.
Councilmember Vanderstoop?
Here. Thank you. Item 2, council, if you've had some time to look over tonight's council meeting agenda, I would entertain a motion to approve that or to make changes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Navarre and a second by Mary. Any discussion, council? Is that a hand raise? No.
Well, that was a mic move.
Okay, good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Item 3 is community comments, and if there's anyone in council chambers tonight who would like to address council, I ask you to come on up to the podium, state your name and your city of residence, and limit your comments to about 3 minutes. But come on up. It's first come, first served.
Oh, it is. I thought it went by, we signed up for it.
First come, first heard. So did you have an opportunity to sign up on the sheet?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we've got your contact info if we need to follow up.
Yeah, yep, it's there. Hello, everyone. My name, thank you for your attention. My name is Bill Johnson. I live in Mount Vernon, Ward 1. Last week was the 80th anniversary of the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. Can you hear, am I supposed to use this?
We can hear you on that.
Okay. The destruction was accomplished with 2 small bombs. Today, the U.S. has bombs that are many times larger, and we have thousands of them. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, keepers of the doomsday clock, have set the time to 89 seconds to midnight, the closest to midnight it's ever been set. We're spending billions a year to upgrade our weapons and delivery systems with money that could be used in better ways. There have been many accidents and incidents involving nuclear weapons, multiple B-52 crashes with nukes aboard, a dropped wrench in a missile silo exploded the missile. Russia almost launched against us. We almost launched against them. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, a Soviet sub almost launched a nuclear-tipped torpedo. One person stopped that launch. You can look all this up online. We've been very lucky these 80 years that bigger things haven't happened. 52 miles south of Mount Vernon on the Kitsap Peninsula, the Bangor submarine base is home to a big pile of nuclear bombs. They have 8 submarines, 20 launch tubes each, and multiple warheads on each missile. Underground storage makes the base home port to the largest concentration of deployed nuclear warheads in the Western Hemisphere. An accident or attack there could send a nuclear cloud north to us if a southerly wind is blowing. We would be known as downwinders. Our country only has 1 nuclear treaty left with Russia, and it expires next year. Something must be done to reduce the number of nuclear weapons. In the 60s through the 80s, the Nuclear Freeze Movement and other citizen organizations were able to pressure our government to negotiate with other countries and sign arms limitation treaties. The nuclear countries went from a high of around 70,000 weapons down to 10,000. In 1985, even Skagit County became a nuclear-free zone. I am a member of a small Skagit County group that's trying to make people aware of the dangers of these weapons and what we can do about them. We demonstrate twice a month at the intersection near the co-op on the 1st and 3rd Fridays of the month at 3 p.m. I want to invite you all to join us. For more information, see our website, nomorebombs.com. That's nomorebombs, no spaces.com. While you're there, please sign the House and Senate resolutions to restart the New START, the treaty with Russia. Also on the website, there's a link to Back from the Brink's Beginner's Guide to nuclear weapons if you'd like to know more.
Thank you. Thanks for being here tonight. Anyone else? Comments for council tonight? Hi, welcome.
Hi. I'm Lynette Gerhard. I'm from Mount Vernon, and I'm the chairperson for the Church Council for United Methodist Church, and I'm just here tonight to talk in support of the memorandum of understanding for the pallet houses. And we're really excited about this project. We appreciate Welcome Home Skagit. We've worked with them on other projects, and we're confident that the screening and supervision will be more than adequate for this project. And we certainly see the need for this kind of temporary housing in our community. We're kind of excited to be a pilot project, and we know that you all have helped and worked hard. The city has worked in order to make these permits possible. So we just wanted to say thank you for your work and let you know we're really in favor of it and think it will work really well.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett. Anyone else? All right, seeing no other comments, we will move on to item 4. That's tonight's consent agenda. It includes meeting minutes, payroll checks, wire transfers, claims, and agreements. Would council like to move for adoption of the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Melissa and a second by Richard. Any discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. And we will go on to committee reports. Council held its monthly Public Works and Library Committee meeting tonight at 6 o'clock here in council chambers, and Councilmember Mary Hudson has a report on that. Mary?
Thank you, Mayor. Our first item of business is always the approval of our last meeting minutes, and then we went right into committee reports. First up was Director of the Library, Isaac Huffman. He let us know that the opening date for the new library kitchen is scheduled for the end of December to the beginning of January. We are so excited to finally get the commercial kitchen ready to roll. He also let us know that the Mount Vernon Library Commons is now the first American library to be, I'm going to say this wrong, Isaac, FIAS certified by Passive House Institute. It's a standard for high performance, energy efficient building. So that's a really great honor. He shared about how the summer reading program included a lot of fun events, the Raptor Show, very popular, time with the symphony, and many art projects. And we had a great shibori dyeing program. That was a full class. A lot of people came to that. And best news for kids and those young at heart, the GameStop now has a Nintendo Switch 2. So I don't know what that is, but okay. We'll go with it. Next up, we had Frank Reinert from Public Works, was talking about the transportation and multidisciplinary project updates. There's a lot of them. I'm going to go through them kind of quick. LaVenture Road widening project. We're continuing coordination with PSE, public outreach, and the schedule of construction is September, to be determined, but hoping for September. Next up is WashDOT's Division Street SR 536 bridge painting, this Memorial Bridge that we all know and love. They surprised us a little bit by announcing that on their public media and their social media. So our team is scrambling to get the things that they were getting ready to prepare and get on the website for answers. Get those things ready to go on the website as well. But please know that WashDOT is in charge of that project, and we will direct you to the right people to ask questions to. The start date for the significant bridge work is still slated for May 2026. Next up was the 2025 Payment Preservation Plan. We have a professional service agreement with Applied Pavement Technology on tonight's City Council agenda, and the fieldwork pavement assessment is scheduled to begin hopefully, possibly at the end of this month, probably September. We want to get ahead of the weather window. 2025 overlay, the consultant professional service agreement with Pertite is also on tonight's agenda. And their surveying and field work is also scheduled late August, early September. Colson Trail Safety Lighting Phases 2 and 4, we were notified on the 3rd of July that the federal grant funding was awarded for both design and construction. The funding was obtained through the SCOG project selection this year, and it's available to obligate for the design and the construction, design in 2027 and construction in 2028. Then we talked about the 30th Street improvements. We were finally notified that the NEPA review is moving forward. We're getting ready to design advance to our 90% milestone. And next up is our right-of-way services consultant selection. Onto the Riverside Drive improvements, 1 and 2. That's been going on for quite a while, pre-Frank, and he's been here a while. So we will be having a good review, a briefing during our Public Works Committee, which is tentatively scheduled for September. We will be doing some adjustments in our transportation improvement project this fall before we do the new one for next year. And we also have professional service agreements coming to us in the September, one of our September City Council meetings. Combined sewer separation study. We will be briefed during Public Works Committee meeting tentatively scheduled for October. The Carpenter Creek Hickox Road culvert replacement, completed additional value engineering on 60% design for both the construction cost reduction and management and constructability. Additional value engineering will require a final round of 60% level design to integrate improvements, submitted for the federal permitting review in this month, just a couple days ago. And next steps are permitting coordination and additional construction funding, which we obviously need to discuss. He will also bring us some TIP amendments to go with some of these projects that I just talked about. Next up, we had Blaine Chesterfield from the Surface Water Division. The Park Street Pump Station has been completed through the 30% design. We have HDR incorporated a professional service agreement for final design on tonight's agenda. Associated Earth Science Incorporated, we're going to, also on tonight's agenda is an amendment to the slope monitoring services for the Skagit Highlands area. The report does recommend continued monitoring into conducting a slope stability analysis to identify potential mitigation measures to eliminate or reduce movement. It doesn't, at this point, I believe, if I can recall correctly, Blaine said things don't look like they're moving, but they have an idea to do a couple more so that they can just be sure that we're stable. The stormwater maintenance program is progressing well. With the street department maintaining 119 detention ponds and 810 catch basins. The Washington Conservation Corps has worked on 5 sites that are very labor intensive, and they require small tools and a lot of handwork. The Washington Conservation Corps has 6 weeks available for the upcoming season, October 1st through September 31st. Or September 30th, sorry, stuck an extra day in there. Annually, the crew does a lot of vegetation maintenance and drainage facilities around the city, and the staff is very happy with them, and I think we are too. It's a very valuable asset that we have available to us. And then the Washington State Department of Ecology is offering $120,000 capacity grants to local jurisdictions that qualify. The grant will reimburse the city for eligible National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System expenses that are incurred between July 1st of 25 and March 31st of 27. We know that's a drop in the bucket, but every drop helps. And we adjourned our meeting at 6:50.
All right. Thank you, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
So last week, council met here at 6 o'clock for our monthly public safety committee, and Councilmember DeBoer Tercero chairs that committee and has a report for us tonight. DeBoer.
Yeah, we had a special committee meeting where Chief Harris and Chief Chrisman gave us a joint review of the 4th of July. We have a fireworks ban within the city of Mount Vernon, and so trying to figure out how successful that was. Chief Harris gave us a report that there were no serious incidents that happened, so that certainly is something that we're happy about. Chief Chrisman mentioned that there were no tickets or citations that were issued because right now the way the ordinance is written, the person has to be found with fireworks in hand in order to issue that that violation. There was talk of possibly changing that, and certainly we will request that the public comment on this before any changes are made. But the recommendation was that possibly we cite the homeowner or landowner wherever those fireworks are found. So that is something that will be considered here in the future. We also had, as part of our committee meeting, reviewing the possibility of laws or ordinances about e-bikes. And so we reviewed the different categories of e-bikes. And we will also be requesting that the public comment on these ordinances that we will pass here on those. We did also talk about a very serious incident that happened, a fatality. And so that certainly is reason for us to set these ordinances in place to protect the public, protect everyone who's sharing the road, the sidewalks. We also had a part of the meeting where we reviewed the procedures that dictate what we as council do, how we run our meetings. We read through the different ordinances that are there that guide and let us know what it is that we need to do to comply with our ordinances. So that took us a little while to read through all of that. And that was all we had. Trying to find, yes, and then the meeting was adjourned at 8:51, so that was quite a long meeting.
Yeah, almost a 3-hour meeting, but a good one. Thanks, Navarro, for the recap. Item 5B is council member comments. Any council member comments this evening? Yes, council member Cadiz.
I just would like to say thank you to the Mount Vernon Police Department for all the support they provide in our Skagit County Fairground last Thursday to Sunday, I'm sorry. It was beautiful to see the whole community just came to enjoy a great event artistically, and all the animals, the children, they were so happy to see them. And even for the hard situation we are living here in the community, family, they felt so safe to come and enjoy. Just say thank you to the many family. They've been contacting us and telling us how they felt so great to be there and enjoying what we had in the community.
Awesome. Thank you. And Chief Chrisman just came in a little late on that comment, so he didn't know we were just complimenting his department for being at the fair. Yeah. So be sure to watch the video back on. Thank you, Councilmember. Any other councilmember comments? All right, we will move on. Item 5C is the mayor's report. For mayor's report tonight, wanted to highlight something that I think is pretty awesome. As elected officials, we often hear about things that need to be fixed in the community, and of course, we're happy to hear those concerns and happy to do our best to utilize the dwindling resources that we have to try to fix those things. This summer, I had a couple representatives from the city's West Hill neighborhood. That's old YMCA high school to Lincoln School, that area. They asked to meet with me and they let me know about some safety issues on a trail that connects their neighborhood to the city's downtown business district. So if you look at that map, it's the yellow circle there, of course, but that's the end of Warren Street, and it's a trail that goes down to the viaduct there and connects there. When I-5 was built, Warren Street was one of several Mount Vernon streets that was cut off by the new freeway, and because of that, it restricted pedestrian access to our downtown for folks in that neighborhood. So this trail was developed. So our residents up there met with me to share their concerns, which isn't unusual. When something is broken, I often get to hear about it. What is unusual is the posture that these residents took on this project to clean up the trail and to make it safer. Their attitude wasn't, hey, this trail is a mess, the city should fix it. It was, hey, we want this vital connection to our downtown to be cleaner and safer. What can we do to help make it better? Love that question. When city governments like ours have limited resources, our most valuable resource becomes our residents who want to work with us to improve the city. And so through some planning and strategizing, we met and identified areas where the city could improve this connector trail and some areas where residents could maybe put in some sweat equity to make some of those improvements. Try not to get dizzy as you watch that video. We fixed up a busted up sidewalk. They cleaned up some vegetation. We dropped off a yard waste bin and some tools. They used the tools and filled up the dumpster twice. And so the end result wasn't just the development of a cleaner, safer space for public access. It was also the development of I think, a deeper mutual trust and appreciation between residents of Mount Vernon and their government. So we want to thank Wendy Sanderson for engaging with my office on this project. I want to thank Mount Vernon Parks Department, Mount Vernon Public Works, and Steve Sexton in my office for just kind of demonstrating how community partnerships like this can transform our neighborhoods and our city. It's one cooperative project at a time. Next, I wanted to take you to another community improvement project. This one is located under Riverside Drive as it passes over Hoag Road. You may have seen some less than desirable graffiti at this location and other activity in the past, but this looked like an area that could use some art and some beauty and some restoration. And so the Recovery Cafe, they're located on Riverside Drive. They partnered with the Mount Vernon Police Department and the Mount Vernon Parks Department and the Mount Vernon Arts Commission. They found artist Ash Brindleson, I'm sorry, Ash, if I mispronounced your name, who designed this mural and created a paint by numbers pattern that volunteers could follow to paint the mural as the artist designed it to look. And by doing that, the Recovery Cafe reclaimed this space and turned an area once known to be a problem area into more of a community attraction. So I was just inspired by these two community and city partnership projects. I wanted to share those with the public, both the trail beautification and the underpass mural with all of you. And that is your mayor's report for August 13th, 2025. Thanks, Steve.
I think we should leave this one up there.
Okay,
Looks cool.
it stands.
Yep.
Moving on to new business. Item A is a memorandum of understanding with Mount Vernon Church, and Stacy Pratchner, our DS director, will present this item to council tonight. Hello, Stacy.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thank you. This evening for your consideration is a proposed memorandum of understanding between the city and First United Methodist Church of Mount Vernon. The purpose of the memorandum is to authorize the church to operate encampment for folks who are experiencing homelessness. The encampment would be in place for up to a year with opportunities for yearly renewals. Staff does recommend that council consider authorizing the mayor to enter into the agreement. Council will recall that on June 18th of this year, we presented the draft memorandum along with a review of the project to the Development Services Council Committee of the Whole. So in summary, the city has issued a permit for the church to place 5 pallet homes on the site, and Welcome Home Skagit will operate the shelters with their goal of providing their clients pathways to both permanent housing and employment. That's described a little more in the first recital of the Memorandum of Understanding. And Welcome Home Skagit is here tonight in support of their request to council. A requirement of the permit approval was both public notice of the proposed shelters to surrounding property owners and a public meeting to describe the project hosted by the applicant. You'll see in the permit approval that public comments were submitted that did raise issues related both to community safety and on-site monitoring of the shelter. In response, both the MOU recitals include provisions for on-site management, and the permit decision, also included in your packet, is conditioned to include on-site management standards, included but not limiting to prohibitions on drugs and alcohol, weekly cleaning schedules of shared facilities, along with access to regular meals for those shelter clients. The draft MOU, which has been crafted by the city's DS department along with the city's legal counsel, proposes to use the provisions in the state RCWs that allow for hosting for renewable 1-year duration for up to 4 times renewed for a potential total of 5 years. So again, in summary, the department would respectfully recommend that council consider authorizing the mayor to sign the memorandum of understanding with the First United Methodist Church. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Questions for Stacy? Yeah, Councilmember Anderson.
Thanks. Not a question. I'm just going to notify everybody I'm too close to the project. I'm going to be abstaining from a vote tonight, but in full favor of it.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thanks for your help on it. Other council member questions for Stacy? All right. Any motions to approve?
I'll move to approve. Where am I going? Enter into MOU with First United Methodist Church.
Second.
Motion by Mary and a second by Melissa. Any more discussion on this? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes.
Thank you,
you,
Mayor.
Stacy.
Thank you, council members.
Thank you to this congregation as well for putting the things that you say you believe into action. Appreciate that, and thanks to Welcome Home Skagit. We are moving on to item B. It is an agreement with Mount Baker Roofing, and our Parks and Enrichment Director, Jennifer Berner, has this item. Jennifer.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. So before you this evening is a contract agreement with Mount Baker Roofing, Little Mountain House, located up in the Little Mountain Park area there. Is the roof on it is showing signs of failure. There's a lot of debris that falls on that roof. As you notice, there's lots of trees surrounding that home, and so it's showing signs of failure. Staff requested quotes from 3 different companies, and 2 responded. Mount Baker Roofing responded with, we're going with their middle package that they submitted, which is 25-year labor and 50-year shingle warranty. And that price came in at $21,240.25. To add aluminum gutters and downspouts was an additional $1,950 for a total of $25,230.99. So that was to re-roof and the gutters and downspouts. The second quote came in from Skagit Roofing. They do not do gutters and downspouts, so their quote is just for the roofing. Their proposal was $25,727, and then you add tax to that, and it's $27,990.98. So we have selected to go with Mount Baker Roofing, that comes in at a lower price. Staff is recommending entering into the contract with Mount Baker Roofing to install the new roof out at Little Mountain House. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Questions for Jennifer? Yes, Melissa.
Jennifer, what kind of maintenance does the city do? Because it does sit underneath all those cedar trees and everything. Does the staff get up there and spray the roof off from time to time, blow the?
We don't really spray it because if you do, but they do get up there and they will blow the roof off.
That's what I
Yeah.
meant to say, yeah.
So that way you can prolong the life of the shingles. If you power wash it, lessens the length of time that
Will we do that
shingles.
yearly?
We look at it as it's needed, and if there's a lot of debris that goes, during the winter season, we look at all of the roofs once a year, at least. And if it needs more, then we address it. So we'll work with the tenants out there, and if they see a lot more debris on the roof, we'll get out there and manage it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question.
I know on my own property, I try to put things off as long as I can without causing damage. And I'm confident, but I want to maybe have trust but verify here that your department's confident that it's time for this to be replaced.
Yes. Yes, and when we've had the two roofers out, they both were saying that it is time to replace it as well.
One thing I'd like to ask the council, at following input from the Parks Department chair, if the council's interested, is whether or not we need this house in our long-term inventory. We purchased the property a few years ago to secure the surrounding acreage, and I may be missing part of this story. And I know that we have a Parks Department that's looking to expand park resources and to expand enrichment and recreation opportunities. And we have some ideas of using the old houses at Bonnie Ray Park and the Little Mountain Park as environmental sort of resource centers. And Bonnie Ray in particular, I think that's where that's going. But if we don't need the house at Little Mountain anymore, after we get a new roof on it, we could conceivably boundary line adjust all the property into the city park and sell off the remaining house. So I just wanted to put that out there as something we should be looking at for any properties that we have, given the budget crunches we have. So just put that out there for us. We don't have to necessarily talk about it, but planting a seed.
I would like to tag on to that. If I remember correctly, when we did this, we were going to look at possibly using that home for an interpretive center in the future.
I think that, and also looking at it as a place for, we could do, store some maintenance supplies and things going forward. Right now, anything we have to do for Little Mountain, we're having to haul in. And so being able to use that facility for some of our maintenance would be awesome. Being able to store some supplies there that we could actually use and not having to haul equipment or supplies back and forth. So I think it could have dual purposes. So it's certainly, if that's a conversation council would like to have, I wrote it down and we can look at that conversation in the future. So happy to bring that back.
One more question. Will you refresh my memory? Is this in our budget?
Yes, it is in the capital budget. We had money in the capital budget to do that this year.
Thank you.
Okay,
So with that,
motion
Go
to approve
ahead,
it.
you go.
shall I go first this time?
You go, please.
With that, I'll make a motion that council approve the mayor to enter into the agreement with Mount Baker Roofing to install a new roof at Little Mountain Park.
I'll second.
Motion by Melissa and a second by Mary. More discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Item C is an agreement with Kaufman Engineers. Jennifer has this one.
So Kaufman Engineers is the company that we have on contract currently for the Bakerview restroom. Their current contract just is for engineering and architectural design for that particular project. We are now we're in the process of the bid process, and then we will be working on going to actual construction. So we're asking them to manage the construction of this particular project. And we submitted that to WCIA. If you recall, this is an insurance project. So I submitted that proposal to WCIA. They have approved that for the funds to be able, for them to be able to come in and manage the construction of the project. So What this is for is to amend their current contract that will authorize Kaufman Engineers to provide additional services for construction administration services to their scope of work. The additional cost of these services will total $7,500. Staff received approval from Washington City's Insurance Authority. A bid-ready package is completed with bids closing on August 19th. And staff is recommending City Council authorize the mayor to execute a contract amendment with Kaufman Engineers to provide the additional services of construction administration services to their scope of work for the Bakerview restroom restoration project.
Council will recall the cause for the loss here was fireworks. Questions for Jennifer? Motions?
I'll move that we authorize the mayor to execute this contract. It's about time. We need to get this thing done.
Yes, yes.
I'll second.
Didn't feel controversial, but motion by Mary, second by Melissa. More discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Item D is a street closure request. Jennifer.
Residents of Leanne Street between Becky Place and Berry Loop, you have a map there in your packet, would like to have a neighborhood block party. The residents are asking for a section of Leanne Street to be closed from 1:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday, September 6th. They will keep one side of the street open for any emergency access that might need to happen. And so that's where they would have things like their tables and canopies on one side, and the other side, they could have things that would be easily movable, or if a emergency vehicle came through, they could drive over the top of it and it wouldn't matter. So we require that on all of the block party type street closures. Staff recommends council approve the closure of Leanne Street between Becky Place and Berry Loop on Saturday, September 6th.
Jennifer, I want to thank you and your staff for sort of accommodating this request. It was a fast turnaround. I know the neighborhood appreciated it.
Yeah.
Council member comments for Jennifer. Motions to close the street for 3 hours.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Navor and a second by Idis. More discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, item E is an agreement with Applied Pavement Technology, Public Works Capital Project Manager Frank Reiner is going to introduce this item. Hello, Frank.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about a couple of professional services agreements tonight. The first one is for the 2025 Pavement Preservation Plan update. Staff is recommending City Council authorize the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Applied Pavement Technologies Incorporated for this particular project. Just to summarize what this project is meant to do, every 5 years, we need to do a citywide reassessment of the pavement condition. This is one of those projects that unfortunately we can't reuse what we do on the previous whatever, because pavement's a very dynamic environment. There's a lot of things that changes street surfaces over the course of 5 years, and we pretty much have to go through the exercise in regathering visual data on the street surfaces to the tune of about 187 total center line miles, although some of that 187 figure that you hear there is actually, we have to drive a couple streets twice because there's a central median or something else that blocks our ability to see the pavement on both sides of the street at the same time. Once that visual assessment is done, it is evaluated through a combination of automated processes and professional judgment to assign what is called a pavement condition index to street segments. This is essentially a federally established standard for grading the surface of pavement based on its existing condition, the level of cracking and cratering in it, the level of cracking in multiple directions that exist in it, and essentially provides a scale between 0 and 100. We generally break our streets into segments. Segments are typically defined by intersection points, in order to give a segmental view of what the street condition is like. In a broad sense, a score of 80 to 100 is considered good condition. 100 would be a newly paved street. So once you newly pave a street for maybe 5 minutes after we're done paving it, it has a PCI of 100, and it's all downhill from there. From 80 down to about 60, you're in the fair zone where the pavement's starting to decay a little bit more rapidly and whatnot, but you're still reasonably okay. Once you start dropping below 60, you're getting into the poor realm where pavement is not easy to rehabilitate anymore. The goal of this project, therefore, is to make the best use possible of our pavement preservation dollars by keeping our pavements as long as possible in that good to fair zone by using surfacing restoration techniques to enhance that. That's the purpose behind this. So the second part of this project is to take all that information and digest it into a strategic work plan for our pavement preservation program. That strategic work plan will look at a number of different options for pavement preservation, look at our available funding for those options, and try and give us the most optimized set of recommendations for projects to proceed with over the next 5 years. Hitherto now, we have primarily used overlay in the city of Mount Vernon. Overlay generates a good product. It generates a product that, at least if it's done correctly, we don't have to go back and re-overlay it for a period of 10 or more years, very often 15 or more years. But the brutal reality is that overlay is expensive. And we do not have nearly the pavement preservation dollars to provide a overlay only pavement preservation program. So what I will be investigating with this team is the other options that exist out there that are more cost effective. They don't necessarily give you quite the same effect as grinding off a couple inches and repaving it, but will still keep us in, for a lot of our streets, in that good to fair zone for a period of time. Slurry seal is one very common method that is used. It's not painting the street black with tar, contrary to popular belief, but at the same time, it's a thin layer. There's no grinding associated with it that allows you to put a new wearing surface on the surface of your streets. We will be looking at that. It has a mixed reputation in the Pacific Northwest. I've worked for cities where it's worked. I've worked for cities where it's failed catastrophically. So it's a process. And that's what I want to explore, because generally its cost to benefit is roughly 10 times that of overlay in terms of investment to outcome. So it is a necessary part of our toolkit. So with that, before we can get to any of the value of it, we have to start with the process. And so we received 3 SOQs in response to our public advertisement for this. Very often SOQs for this sort of work come primarily from the people that do the visual scanning and laser mapping of the streets, and they usually partner with somebody that can then help with the strategic planning and budgeting side of things. We got 3 such SOQs. We scored them. 2 of them really badly missed the mark for the city of Mount Vernon. 1 of them didn't. So we recommended that Applied Pavement Technologies as the most qualified consultant team for this particular project. Do you have any questions?
Frank, I think only an engineer would describe pavement as dynamic, but I get it.
With all due respect, sir, before I was an engineer, I was a geologist. So pavement changes spectacularly fast compared to what I started with.
So you're saying it's relative. Okay. Questions for Frank?
Yeah, on the paperwork that we got here for this, there's a table B2. I was just curious, what is loaded rate being?
Table B2.
It is near the end.
So we get a couple different types of rate sheets from consultants and whatnot, and sometimes they will provide a separate line item for overhead cost markup associated with their hours that they charge. And sometimes they take that overhead and combine it into their billing rates on a per hour basis. And that's what's called a loaded rate. So what that tells me is that rate includes not only the cost of that particular person, but all the incremental costs that that consultant is charging in association with that person.
Is there a breakdown of those costs that show us where they're coming from or where they're?
Typically not, but we typically also then look at those rates to see whether or not they match with what we see across the consultants. And again, to compare apples to apples, if I have a billing rate from a consultant who separates out separately their markup, then I will take theirs as an example, multiply it by the load rate and compare it to this loaded rate just to make sure that I'm in the apples to apples world. So the number looks high, but at the same time, what I will also note is there's no additional markup on the bottom line of the proposal. And if I ever see that in conjunction with a loaded rate, I usually hand it back to him and say, yeah, try again.
Other questions? Motions?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Navor and a second by Melissa. More discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. And we go on to item F, which is an agreement for the city's overlay project. And Frank has this one too.
I do. So staff recommends City Council authorize the mayor to execute a professional service agreement with Pertite Incorporated for civil engineering services to support the design of the 2025 overlay project. This project is a situationally specific project, a case of picking a street with a certain PCI rating that's in the fair zone. And in all honesty, it's Highway 99. I'm kind of wanting to get it done and off my plate for the next 20 years. So that's the primary reason why I chose this particular one as basically the last overlay project of the previous pavement preservation study that was done by the city. This is also a project that requires relatively limited ADA improvements compared to most of our city streets. So I have combined that into this particular professional services agreement. The goals, as articulated before, is to do an overall layout of study and layout of the street. Essentially, we know we're going to strip off the upper inch to 2 inches of the whole street. So we'll look for extra wear areas where we might have to cut out some additional area because that particular pavement section is failing faster. And again, come back, re-overlay it, do some ADA improvements. We do have actually, believe it or not, pedestrian ramps along Old Highway 99. Not many compared to the length of the street, but we do have to do improvements on some of those. There's at least one marked crosswalk actually across Old Highway 99 at Anderson that we need to formally reestablish that particular crosswalk. And because it is Old Highway 99, I am going to add some signage to it to raise the awareness of the presence of that crosswalk. But beyond that, this is a somewhat abbreviated design process just because pavement overlay at the end of the day is really not a very iterative design approach for the most part. We are going to take a look at Britt Road. This is a failed pavement section according to our previous PCI study. And, as I've said to you in other contexts, usually once a street gets to a failed situation, it can't be recovered through overlay. But we do want to take a look at it and see if we can recover this street without having to do a full bells and whistles pavement section replacement on the street, because a full pavement section replacement on the street is one of those fairly costly big ticket items. This is the street that passes in front of our public works shop as well as our wastewater treatment plant. So ideally, this is another one of those streets that I want to rehabilitate its current state without necessarily, and then leave it behind for the next few years and not have to worry about it. So we'll at least take a look at it in design, but I've kind of reserved judgment as to whether or not Britt Road will move forward to construction. Beyond that, we advertised again publicly on this one. We received only one submitted statement of qualification, which is not unusual for a pavement preservation only project. There's a lot of consultants out there that can do it. A lot of consultants out there who aren't terribly interested in just doing overlay work. But we did review the SOQ nonetheless to make sure we weren't buying a pig in a poke, so to speak, and have the recommendation for you this evening. Any questions?
Frank, people at home are yelling at their screens, how could the city prioritize these roads over College Way? And you would answer that by saying,
Well, first of all, College Way isn't mine.
well, not owned by the city.
That's fair. To be honest with you, we don't have a prioritized work plan of pavement preservation projects currently. That was not included in the 2021 pavement study. It's something I expect to rectify in both the study that you've just approved a professional services agreement for, as well as all future ones, to do a kind of a better job of, first of all, identifying need and also suitability. The priority of pavement preservation is a tricky one, and that's going to be an involved conversation going forward. Some streets can be a low priority from the standpoint of traffic use, but the people that live in a cul-de-sac with a failed pavement section would argue it, and I'm one of them, would argue against the notion that they're the very lowest person on a priority list. So one of the things we'll be exploring is where these failed pavements are and talking about, well, how do we take a multifaceted approach to city prioritization from year to year to make sure that we're not just fixing the same roads over and over again, but that we're trying to achieve pavement preservation across the whole city.
So to summarize your first statement, College Way is not owned by the city of Mount Vernon.
Correct.
It is owned and maintained by the state Department of Transportation.
Yes.
And there happens to be a link on the city's website where you can email them and let them know that you don't like the bumpy ride on College Way.
And in a broad backup to that, as a matter of policy, we have two state highways in the city of Mount Vernon. We have College Way from I-5 out to Highway 9, which was what the mayor was referring to. That is also SR 538, State Route 538. The maintenance responsibilities for that surface are, as the mayor pointed out, the state of Washington. We have a second one called State Route 536. It starts at I-5 and follows Kincaid till you get to 3rd, follows 3rd up to Division and the intersection with Freeway, crosses the bridge that we're all very familiar with, and then continues out to the west until eventually it passes out of the city. And again, this is a street that it is a city street, but also a state highway. And so condition reports to that go to WashDOT.
Other questions for Frank? Yeah, Navor.
And actually, this is more of a question for our city attorney. Not that we've ever, or while I've been on council, that we've ever dealt with this, but what protects the city from cost overruns when we enter into these types of contracts?
These aren't flat fees. These are pay-as-you-go. We have to show actual costs, invoices, and then they get paid. We rarely will enter in a services agreement that provides upfront money and then provides risk that they don't perform the services. It also allows you to terminate at any time with notice. Sometimes you'll see these firms try to negotiate a for-cause termination. If we don't like the services, we will terminate it, move on, and then it's an administration by your professional engineers to make sure they're on task.
Thank you.
So it should be noted that when we receive invoices, we receive hourly invoices, and that they're hourly invoices based on unit prices that are provided in the contract. So we verify at that point in time that if they're going to put rates in our professional services agreement, as you've seen here, that those are the rates that's locked. That's the rates that they're paid. This can be a tricky situation in longer term projects because rates can change over time. Anytime a rate changes like that and the consultant persuades me that I want to accept the newer rates and for one reason or another, that results in a contract amendment that you've seen me bring to this council for approval in order to change those rates. The example that comes most immediately to mind that you saw from me was a fairly recent amendment with King Technologies for the ADA transition plan update. That project kind of languished for about a year and a half, and the amendment I brought to you, one aspect of the amendment was specifically to change the rates to meet the current rates, and then to change the not to exceed cap of the contract simply because of that change in those rates.
Thank you. Council?
Hey, Frank, just wanted to say thank you. You talk about things that I think a lot of people sometimes don't find super interesting, but I love how you describe everything, and I just wanted to show some appreciation. When you implement cost savings measures, it allows the city to prioritize spending on other things. And we do need our streets because they are critical infrastructure, but making them not cost as much as they were previously is something that I don't know if you get enough props for. I think everybody on council certainly appreciates you, and I just want to say thank you. If there's no other comments, then I would make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Andrew and a second by Edis. Councilmember Vanderstoop. Pavement dynamic or static? All in favor, say aye.
Not
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
All right. At this point, we are going to excuse Councilmember Beaton. As a prior engagement. Item G tonight is an agreement with HDR Engineering, and Public Works Engineer Blaine Chesterfield will be presenting this to council. Hello, Blaine.
Hello, thank you, Mayor, City Council. I guess Melissa didn't want to go through this with us. I know, it's not always exciting in stormwater, but
It wasn't you, Blaine.
It's not you, Blaine.
this is, as we talked earlier tonight, this is about the professional engineering services agreement for the Park Street Pump Station. Staff recommends council authorize the mayor to execute the professional services contract with HDR Engineering Incorporated to provide final engineering design services for the Park Street Pump Station. The original on-call provided the professional engineering services to complete a 30% design for the Park Street Pump Station, which, as you know, has been completed. The proposed contract is for the Park Street Pump Station final design with a cost of $566,355. The pump station was installed 90 years ago and still uses 2 of the original pumps. The facility is well beyond its useful life expectancy, and I know Gary Duranzo would second that. The 2 consultants that responded to the advertised request for qualifications, 2 of them responded, and HDR is the engineering design firm that was selected as the preferred candidate in the selection process, unanimously by the 4 staff that graded their statement of qualifications. The motion to authorize the mayor to execute the professional engineering service contract with HDR Engineering Incorporated to provide final engineering and design services for the Park Street Pump Station in the amount not to exceed $566,355.
Questions for Blaine?
I'll move that we authorize the mayor to execute the professional engineering services contract with HDR Engineering.
Motion by Mary, I didn't get the second. Was that?
Second.
Motion second by Andrew. More discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thanks, Blaine.
Thank you.
Item H is an agreement with Associated Earth Sciences. Blaine has this one.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Staff requests that the City Council authorize the mayor to approve the professional services amendment number 2 with Associated Earth Sciences Incorporated for consulting services related to additional borings and monitoring of the slope between the upper and lower Skagit Highlands ponds. The total cost of the amendment number 2 is $101,900 for a total contract amount of $206,900 if you add the original amendment, the original contract and amendment number 1. That would be the total. ESA installed 2 inclinometers, 2 groundwater monitoring wells, and has been monitoring Skagit Highland Pond since September of 2022. Associated Earth Sciences has experience in this region and extensive knowledge with the Skagit Highlands ponds. Recommendation is to install 5 additional borings and 2 additional 40-foot groundwater monitoring wells for subsurface exploration to better assess the water-bearing layers, or strata, as they like to call it in the geotech field. The additional information will be used to assess the effectiveness of dewatering for mitigation of slope movement, assess dewatering options, and other mitigation alternatives. Slope monitoring results will be summarized in a written report. In addition, a slope stability analysis will be conducted and presented to the city. Approval of the proposed professional services agreement amendment number 2 with Associated Earth Sciences Incorporated will give the city additional information to determine what mitigation options are available to ensure the stability of the slope.
Questions on this one?
What is the proposed or the projected cost?
The projected cost for this amendment or for,
Yeah, for this amendment.
okay, for this amendment, it's $101,900.
Oh, that's right.
I would move to approve if there's no other comments.
Second.
Motion by Andrew, second by Navor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. Council.
Item I is not an action item. It's the presentation of a proposed ordinance for future consideration, and City Attorney Kevin Rogerson will present this.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Before you is a proposed ordinance. What this ordinance does, if adopted and accepted by Puget Sound Energy, would provide a franchise agreement with Puget Sound Energy, allowing them to continue to use your public's rights of way to provide energy as a utility to the citizens and residents of Mount Vernon. Pursuant to state law, no ordinance granting a franchise in a code city can be adopted or passed by the legislative body on the day of its introduction or 5 days thereafter. You have to wait 5 days after this first reading, and then we have to take action later. It would be set for action on your next available council meeting, which I believe is the 27th, unless there were significant concerns. It's by way of background, Puget Sound Energy, they are your energy utility here in the area. They're a Washington corporation, and they've asked to replace their expired franchise, which has been extended. They're holding over under the current franchise, which we had approved years ago. I think the last term was 20 years. So with this new franchise, it continues to allow them to utilize your public rights of way to operate the transmission, distribution, and sale of electrical energy. It doesn't provide a franchise for any other services. It's not a telecommunications franchise. It's not a cable franchise. Gas, power is solely electrical. The city, through its legal office and related city departments, mostly public works, because this relates to the relocation of utilities for street widening, which you've probably heard a lot about today, and other public works. We've negotiated a new proposed franchise agreement with Puget Sound Energy for the installation and operation of the electrical energy infrastructure. The ordinance grants a non-exclusive franchise, which means we need to use the streets for more than just Puget Sound Energy. We got cable conduit, we got water conduit, things that we need to share the road, underneath the road, in addition to above the road. So it is non-exclusive. Similar to other franchises with utility companies, this includes how they will relocate its facilities at no cost if needed by the city as a result of a city project. There's kind of a timing issue with those things, and that's where Public Works and Frank and Chris really get heavily involved to make sure that when we provide notice that we need them to move a pole, for example, that notice gets responded to, and we can have a critical path developed to avoid the risk of undue delay in our projects. In addition, the more risk management or legal side of it is make sure they're properly insured, properly bonded, so if anything happens, we're indemnified for their negligence and if it causes injury to the city or a third party. This franchise term is for 10 years. It can be extended by mutual agreement by the parties for 2 successive 5-year terms. No franchise fees are allowed for electrical utilities. That's a state law. There are certain utilities you can do it, but telecommunications and electrical utilities, you cannot impose such fees. But we do and we can impose administrative expenses to negotiate this, including legal time, administrative time. The way this would work is once you adopt this, they have 60 days to accept it. If they accept it, then they pay the actual administrative costs. Again, unique procedural requirements, so there's no action today. We would provide this for an action item on the next available city council meeting, August 27th.
Council, no action, but do you have questions for Kevin on this one? Yeah, Councilmember Van
And
Der.
I understand that this is the last item, so I'll try and keep it quick. Kevin, thank you so much for this. Reading over this, how much of this contract is boilerplate, and how much of this is something where we are actually talking? And just as a preface, vegetation management, Article 8.7, 8.71. We shall meet no more than annually to discuss vegetation management. Is this a thing that is written into statute? Is this a thing that's negotiated?
I can tell you, just these things are negotiated very heavily, almost ad nauseum. Cities look at what other cities are doing to see how these things are negotiated. There's no secret, so I'm not giving you anybody in the open public forum. There's a tango here of you've got your street permits. You have to come in and get a street permit. So if it's adopted in your code, we'll take it out of the franchise because they're going to have to follow the code. And then there's tariffs that are constantly being renewed and developed by the state. So if it's a tariff, Puget Sound Energy says, well, I know what you are asking of this contract, but the state has already addressed the issue. Remove it. Can't talk about it. What it's focused on a lot is relocation because it's a direct and significant impact. So there's a lot of discussion in those areas. Insurance and indemnity, catastrophic events. You've seen things happen in California where utilities have started some forest fires. So we work on those issues. My office with your risk pool. So I would say, yeah, these are actually contracts that are more negotiated than you think. But some of it is template. I would say people are looking at what the other people are doing. Yeah.
I appreciate that. If it's okay with council, I didn't look at this until tonight, unfortunately. So I'm going to take a look, but I will provide any feedback, and I'm sure that you have worked through this. And so anything that I have to add or have questions about, I'm sure you've addressed it already. But I am the vegetation management, just because this is something that comes up quite often. It's the thing that comes up the most often whenever it's in regards to PSC is branches over touching poles and catching on fire. Basically is what happens. And so something that I would be curious to know what the plan is, because if we are having a plan every year, are we adequately addressing that? Just because there's alleys where this is, I can think of several where there's branches and things laying on electric lines that are connected to the grid.
We also have a really good communication with Puget Sound Energy, not only their legal team, but their relations. They were informed we were getting our first reading tonight, and that if there's any questions, be more than happy in implementing this. Send it my way. We will give it to them. I guarantee you'll probably get a pretty responsive answer since we're so near the finish line on getting this thing done.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you. Kevin, while you're there, I will ask you for item 7 to please call the mayor and city council into executive session.
Thank you. I'd invite the mayor and members of city council to enter into an executive session with legal counsel to discuss matters relating to enforcement actions, litigation, or potential litigation to which the city, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding such discussions are either likely to result in adverse legal or financial consequence to the city pursuant to our SCW 4230 subsection 110(1)(I). Time would be 15 minutes. We would reconvene at 8:25 with no action after.
And with that, we will adjourn the City of Mount Vernon City Council meeting for Wednesday, August 13th, 2025 at 8:09 p.m.